Whoo, man, oh man. So that was a nice little bout. Costano versus Charlo. I mean, going into this bout, I don't know. I was hearing a lot of people just kind of talking about how Costano was gonna get he was gonna get beat up. You know, he was gonna get stopped. You know, early. Some people were saying early he's gonna get stopped in the fourth. He's gonna get stopped in the fifth round. Just kind of brushing him off and brushing off what he's capable of doing in the ring. And I kind of didn't understand it. Like, I thought that Charlo was gonna win this bout, but I thought it was gonna be a type of thing where he ends up winning, you know, later on in the fight. You know, later on, later rounds, like 9, 10, 11, 12, like somewhere around there. I didn't necessarily see him getting stopped or destroyed early in any way. We saw this guy face Lara. We saw this guy give Lara a tough fight. You know, some people thought that he won. Some people thought that Lara won. You know, it was called the draw. But regardless, that's Lara that he gave this type of, you know, issues with. This is Lara that he gave this type of trouble with. So if you're able to do that, you clearly got skills. You clearly are talented, you know, to give that veteran who's been around for a long time, that, you know, the issues that you gave him. You know, Lara now who's at 160 pounds and he's doing this thing at 160 pounds. So I didn't understand this whole just brushing him off thing. I think it's kind of weird. It's like, if we don't know a particular name, we're just gonna brush them off like it's just easy work. Like Rosario had did his thing, you know, became a unified champion. And I said, you know, I said to myself, like, Charlo's gonna win this bout, but he's gonna have to figure some things out. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy. This guy just became champion, unified. You know, now he's going into the biggest fight of his life. You're the king. You're the guy. So these guys, they're looking at you 24/7. They're looking at all your bouts, looking at everything you do. They eat, sleep, drink you all day. That's all they focus on is you. You know, regardless of who they're fighting, they're looking at everything you do because you're that dream. You're that space that they wanna, you know, that they wanna be in. You know, so because of that, they're just looking at you on a consistent basis. You know, and especially, I always said, I've seen in multiple videos, when you face anybody on PBC, you better be ready. It could be a guy who's had bad bouts, but now he's with PBC where he's been getting paid a good amount of money, where he can have a proper camp, where he can get a proper coach, where all of a sudden you come into the ring, you thinking things gonna be sweet, and you flatline on the floor, you know, match waved off, and you're wondering what the hell happened. That's what happens. Like with Rosario had a proper camp finally. He had been with PBC for a while too, but now he had really had a proper camp. You know, had a good bread to prepare for the fight, and we saw what happened. You know what I'm saying? We saw what happened, and he walked himself into into becoming a unified champion, and moved on to take on Charlo. You know, on pay-per-view. You know, so with this Costano, I mean, Costano's in there. Costano's doing his thing. He was staying real busy. He got caught with a couple of shots, got hurt twice, but he overcame that and made the adjustments he needed at that time, staying away, holding, being intelligent and smart with it, not just trying to bang, you know, even though he was hurt. He survived, and he ended up with a draw. You know, Charlo, to me, he did look off. He didn't look as active as I thought he should be, but he usually isn't, quote, active. But he's still usually a little more active than that. He's usually still he usually goes to the body a lot more than he was in this particular fight. I'm not sure why he wasn't going to the body as much. And also, I don't understand why I also don't understand why the two times that he hurt Costano, why, especially the second time he hurt Costano, I thought there were openings there. The openings there that he could have taken advantage of, but for whatever reason, he didn't. You know, I don't understand it. Like, especially when he hurt him the second time, I thought he should have taken him out. He should have been able to stop him, but he didn't. And like I said, sometimes you're gonna have an off night. You know, you're gonna have an off night. And I know some people are saying, oh, well, you know, this is what happens when you have the PBC fighters only fighting once a year. Number one, the PBC, especially all the champions, they usually fight twice a year. When you look at all the other bodies, and you look at the top guys, they all fight fucking twice. They all fight twice a year as well. So it's not that something that's different from them compared to everybody else. There are other fighters who will be in these other camps who will, quote, only fight one time in a year. That's it, just one time. You know, we've seen that. We see that happen as well. So this weird concept that people have of this being something particular with PBC is weird to me, because, you know, especially when people who are involved in the boxing and they cover boxing and they talk about boxing, we all know this, that, you know, the top dudes only usually fight twice a year. You know, and it's never been an issue for Charlo. You know, I don't care if he was fighting 10 times a year. You know, we have seen people have problems like this. You know, I don't care how active they are. They could be fighting 4 times a year. We see them go into a bout and have issues, have problems. It happens. Not every single night is just going to be your night. You're not going to look spectacular every single night. Charlo's been looking spectacular time after time after time after time, getting win after win after win after win in a spectacular fashion by knockout over and over and over and over again. And, you know, obviously ran into an issue. You know, we saw Lomachenko almost get knocked out by Pedraza. Not by Pedraza, by whatever the hell that damn dude's name is. But we saw him almost get, we seen him almost get knocked out. You know, we seen him then go in, we see against basically a prospect, a young kid, and lose. You know, we seen Costano give Lomachenko, give Teofimo all kinds of issues. We seen Lomachenko run right through him. You know, it's just what happens. We seen Gervonta Tank Davis have issues with Gamboa. Even though he was still dominating the fight, but we still expected way more from him. You know, way more from him. And after that, you know, we see him go up and fight a 140 pounder that had, like, I don't know, 6 inches on him, all kind of weight on him, and him just be able to slip everything that was coming his way and be able to dominate and win that bout. It just, it just happens. We seen Canelo Alvarez, he took on Danny Jacobs, and in a fight people thought he was going to dominate. He won that fight by 1 round. By 1 round. So, I mean, it happens. It happens. So, hopefully they do a rematch. Hopefully it's next. Charlo was talking about, he doesn't know. We'll see. I don't like that type of talk. I'm not sure what that was all about. That we'll see thing. It should be it should have been more of a, hey, we're doing this next. But I don't know. Maybe they already had other things already set up, already signed kind of situation. I don't know. Where then he has to go another direction and then go there, because sometimes that also is the case. So I don't know. Maybe there's something else that's kind of there where he would have to get out of, in order to do this. But we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But when you're taking on guys coming off their biggest wins, guys that are focused on you, especially when these guys are champions, undefeated dudes, that have never tasted defeat. Sometimes you're gonna have difficult fights. Sometimes you're gonna have hard fights. But, this is what makes champions. This is what makes legends. This is what puts you into a space where people talk about you forever. Like the issues he had with Harrison. Then he comes back and he just, wins in spectacular fashion. So now you had this issue with Costano. You became, it was a draw. Now you got to come back, though. You got to come back. You face him. This probably ends up being a pay-per-view where they do a spectacular gate. Get out of Houston. Go somewhere else. go to LA or something. But have another bout, and let's see what happens in that bout when you guys lock horns for another time. And see how good you're able to do. See if you're able to overcome those mistakes you made in that fight. And come out with the victory and come out with the knockout that we all know that, you're 100% capable of doing, But, shout out to him. Shout out to Costano. Incredible performance. He just set himself up for a massive payday. He set himself up, he has his wife, that I guess she sacrificed their honeymoon or whatever, so they could, so he can do this fight. And, now hopefully they go into this rematch where he's gonna make a strong 7 figures, and he can set himself up for life. He's basically put himself into a situation where he can set himself up for life off this one fight. So let's see if it takes advantage of it. And shout out to PBC. We're getting Undisputed. We're getting all kinds of unifications that are coming up. We're getting Earl Spence versus freaking Manny Pacquiao. Felton, he's doing his unification. Like, we got a there's a lot coming up. A lot coming. Hopefully Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder ends up happening. They're giving us a lot. So shout out to them. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.